Okay, howdy. Hello, old people, retro people, vintage people. I'm trying to make my first video here. I sometimes have a little bit of difficulty with the pronunciation because I had some work done on my teeth. So and the dog barking isn't helping either, but we'll see. Maybe I'll do a voiceover. Anyway, I'm Mark. This is my back garden. It's a sunny day. I have some work to do on my bike to get it ready for next season. So yeah, let's get cracking, as they say. I'm gonna get all the stuff that I need, and I'll be working on this very handy stand because it needs to have brake cables, gear cables, and everything should be adjusted, but it's not a normal gear cable, so let's see how it goes. Yeah, let's just put it over here. All right, this is the most important stuff. Because it's a few things different than normal, and it's these things. I unpacked a few already. They are very tiny, and they are like the Nokon system that is now no longer in production, but it's much cheaper from AliExpress, and well, it works with a liner, and that's why we chose it, because we can run the liner continuously all the way from the lever back to the brakes and all the way from the shifters to the derailleurs. So hopefully that will keep any dust and mud and other grime out of the cables. So let's see how things work. I should need about 2 or 3 of these packages. So that means that I have too many liners. But that's okay, because we have plans with those too. So I'm just gonna put these liners back in the box, and we also have some heat shrink. That's important. I'll show you that later on. And there's a little package with a very little Ziploc bag, and it contains these things to hold the cables together a bit, some cable ends, and some end caps, but we're not going to use those because the liner can't go through this little hole, so that would stop the continuous line. So I'm gonna skip those and try something else. All right, that means that we have enough to get started with. All right. And what I'm especially curious about is to see how well it functions. I'm sure I can get it installed, no problem, but will it be as good or hopefully better than a normal boating cable. I'm not sure. So especially for the rear derailleur, I'm curious. All right, I need a few more things. And that should be all I need. We have a very young and enthusiastic dog, and we have an older one, and we just started cleaning up our back garden, and now, as a temporary measure, we have some how do you call that, artificial turf. I hate the stuff, but it's practical for now, and the dogs love it. So yeah, there's that. All right, I think I'll start with the front brake because that's just one line and it should be the easiest to do. Let me see if I have some leftover liner that's long enough. Not sure that'll do it, but I think it could do the trick. So let's start with that. All right, what I need to do is put these on, and to make that a little bit easier and also to make sure that I'm not losing them on the other end, I will put one of these V-brake dust caps on it, or at least that's what I'll try. This one doesn't fit very well, so let's try another one. If it fits too easy, it won't work. I think this one's a good one. Yeah. So that should stop them from falling on the ground. So let's see. All right, what's important is that I put them in the right direction, because they have two different sides, one that's more open and one that's more closed off. And in order to sit well in line with each other, they need to be all in the right direction. So let's see. This will take a while, so it's not a fast process, and I can see why bike shops at the time when Nokon came out weren't particularly enthusiastic to start installing them. But I have time, so let's just try to. I'm not sure what the fastest method will be. Just yeah, this should go a bit faster. So just grab a bunch. And I'm sure I will drop a few, but here we go. If you hear some noise in the background, apart from the dogs, it's carnival here. So most people are watching a big parade, and it's cool. It's a nice day for that, but I'm skipping it. because I want this bike ready for the nice weather season. We had a refresh day, a spring refresh day, where we came together to work on our bikes, and I didn't quite finish it because I thought this deserved some extra time to try it out, to get it right, to experiment a little bit. And I already did a session with my friend Michiel's bike. I'm saying a lot. Am I? Yeah, I think I am. Anyway, so that's when we already did a lot of trial and error stuff. So now I think I should be able to speed up the process a little bit, except for this. I don't know the English word for it. Braiding or something? I'm not sure. Oh, my end cap almost fell off. So yes. Well, not totally done, but getting there. Anyway, I didn't change much on my bike this year. I had some bigger plans, but I decided to focus on this. But some things that I did change was I had brakes on this bike and wheels on this bike that used parts of the limited edition Dior LX Gruppo that I'm hearing can be quite expensive. And because I'm always searching for budget, I'm gonna sell that Gruppo. So I needed to take those off to add them to the group to make it complete. So I took the wheels that I used before that, and I picked the brakes. I pulled them off my winter bike, and well, and that's because I really like this parallelogram type of brake. So after this, I need to get my winter bike back in order too, with some other brakes. That's for another day. All right, I'm getting there, just one piece left. So let me start by installing a brake cable. I have these two brake cables, and shiny and new like it should be. They are both equally long, or I should really say equally short, because with Michiel's bike we noticed that they weren't very long. So let's see if it's good enough to use on the rear. All right. I'm always quite anal to get these adjustment screws just right. When everything's said and done, I want them to be somewhere in the middle of their settings, so of their range. So I need to keep an eye on that. But for now, let's see. I think I need this end to go on first. I'm a bit afraid that I will drop all these little segments, so I need to be careful here. All right, let me see. Oh wait, I think I forgot something. It needs an end cap here, so let me see how I can fix that. What I'm gonna do is transfer these temporary to a new piece of liner. So that I can transfer them back once I yes. All right, so they are on the second liner now. Oh, just about all of them. And now all of them. Careful with this. And I'm gonna find myself a good end cap. Let me see. Now these are brake end caps, so that seems logical, but the segments are quite thin. So I hoped I could get away with the shift end caps, but they are just a little bit too tight to fit. So I'll use brake end caps. Oh, that's another thing I forgot. Because I need to open up this hole a little bit. It's not a problem. We found out a way to do that. First, I'm using this 2mm Allen key just to get it opened a bit, and then I'm using the, let me see, I don't know the size, the T9 Torx end to open it up a little bit more. And that should do the trick. Let me see. Yes. All right. There we go again. Let me see where the end is. And now I need to be careful because I want the closed ends of these segments, or the, well, the somewhat more closed ends. All right. I need them to be at this direction. And later on, I'll explain why that is. But for now, this is looking good. It's handy if you have another person around doing this, but let's see how I fare. Then there's these, I think they're called ferrules. Bad pronunciation, but I'll do my best. And they usually have this plastic or Teflon inner tube in it, like so. But I don't need that because I'm going to use this continuous liner for that. So let me see if I can. This should be all right. Or do I want one that's bent a bit more? Or maybe even a flexible one. I'm not sure yet. I never really liked the flexible ones because they tend to stay like this instead of really making the turn the curve that I want them to make. So I'm gonna go with a normal one. Let me see. Then I need an end cap for this, I think. Let me check. Not sure. Not sure if the end cap fits in like it should. No, let's not do that. All right, I dropped two things. I bumped my head, so good going here. Right, this is just to get the length correct. I think it could be a little bit shorter because these can make quite quite tight bends. So, and I want a little piece of it sticking out, so I'm gonna try. Let's see how many I can take off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 at least. Drop something again, so right. Let me see. Now the nice thing is about this system, it's time consuming, but I can just play around with the length to get it just right. So I don't need to cut any wires, any housing, I should say. It's just if it's good, it's good. And if it's not, I'll just add or remove some segments. All right. It's a bit short, maybe. Or is it? I'm not sure. I ideally would use just maybe 2 segments more, but then again I would need another piece of liner for that. I'm seeing if I can avoid that. Seems to run just fine, but I'm a bit worried about the first 2 segments splaying open a bit. I now realize I didn't even check my hair before I started this recording. Well, this is me, folks. Nah. The lining needs to be just a little bit longer. So let's just get it done correctly. I'll take this off. Get another liner. All right. Drop something again. All right, so I need to transfer these, all of them. There we go. Yes. And once I do that, I can take off this piece of liner. I'm going to use that as a reference. for the correct length. But I'm gonna open up. Yes, I dropped something again. In case you missed it. It was a bit tight, so let's get it right. Because the whole idea of this setup is for it to have the continuous, let me see which direction. Let me double check myself, because I can be clumsy. Yes, to have the right direction, and no, sorry, that's not what I wanted to say. I wanted to say the idea behind this is to really install it and keep everything moving smoothly for the whole season, and then at the end just swap the inner cable and maybe also the liner, but keep the rest intact. So that's why it's important that it's installed correctly. Yes, okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add two. That's what I wanted. One. Well, let's add three, just to make sure I don't have to do this again. Right? And then I'll do this one. It's a bit of a complicated process at first, and a bit more involved, labor intensive. But I gotta say, it's nice to try something new and just that you need to use your brains a bit more than you normally would. So it's okay. All right, so now I need to cut off the liner, but I want to stick just about a centimeter out for some final touches. And for that, I'm gonna need a knife or a scissor. Let me see which one will work. I don't think I will cut the inner wire like this, so there we go. Cool. All right, so I have this liner for all the other cables, and there's plenty where that came from, so there we go. All right, I'm gonna set up the cable, at least for now. What I always do, I tighten it loosely, then I break until I am at the lever position that I want to have when I fully apply the brakes. Then I tighten it a bit more, not fully tight, but just tight enough to work with it. All right, I already set up the brakes, so the brake pads. So now I should just get the balance just right. All right, feels good so far. I'm gonna give it a few good tight pulls just to get all the segments seated and maybe try to get some stretch out of the cables. Because if there's one thing I hate, it's spongy brakes. I also hate how I can't really talk very well, but that's another matter. So readjust it just a bit. Oh. Yes, I dropped something again. So I think that's off to a good start. Now let's just get these to length. So normally you would maybe have put something like this in between, but other than that, just put an end cap on it and call it a day. But that's not what I'm going to do here, because I now have a closed system, and of course with the front brake it's not a problem. So here it will really help, but here it won't. But I still have an entrance for dirt and water and grime and dust right here. And yes, I know these are meant for that, but with me they always come loose. This end is just a bit too open. So what I did was I bought something. I had to go to 5 bike shops to find them. It's inside, so I'll get it. And it's this. It's called ventielslang in Dutch, or valve tube. And I don't think most of you will be familiar with it, because, well, 2 reasons really. It's outdated, and it's only relevant when you use Dunlop type valves, which are very common here in the Netherlands, mostly on regular city bikes, urban bikes. And what it did was it was placed inside of the valve, on the inside of the valve, and the idea was that if you pump up your tire, it will temporarily blow up this rubber permitting air to get into the inner tube, but after that it would seal it from air getting out. On later Dunlop valves, they had a bit more modern solution for that. So these things aren't used anymore, really. So I had to really find a bike shop that still had them. You could just cut them to length, but I'm going to use them to seal off the front brake. Sorry, not the front brake. To seal off the cable, the how do you call it? The casing? No, the outer cable, and the inner cable, so that nothing can come in there. And what I need is just a short piece. That I'm going to cut to length now. Yes. And one end of that will go over the inner tube and over the end of the liner, and it fits perfectly, so that seals it off on that side. And for the other side, I'm using these heat shrinks that I'm also going to cut in half. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide that over the inner tube, the inner cable, and shrink it. And there, that will be the other side to get this rubber hose over. So it will be closed on both sides. But because it's flexible, it will just like a, how do you call it in English? I'm not sure. Well, you'll see. It will compact and stretch out again. So everything should be tight. So for that, I need to open up this one more time. But before I do that, I'm making a slight bend. So as a marker for me to get it back in the same position. So now first I'm gonna get this over the cable. And yes, it's already almost in place. It needs a little bit convincing to go over the liner, but with a little bit of wiggling, you can get it into its position. And that's a good thing, of course, because it means that it should stay there purely by friction. There needs to be a tiny opening just to get it out and put it back in again. But this side is already done well. Now I need the heat shrink tube. And I'm just gonna put it in the position where this tube is without it being stretched. I had to find myself a lighter. I don't smoke, so normally I don't have lighters, but I found one. All right, let me see if I can do this without any help, because I really need a second hand here. Oh. Well, I'm getting there without burning my fingers. I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but I'm also sure that I don't have the tools for that, so this will have to do. Yeah, there we go. All right, that should do the trick. Now I need to get this side over the heat shrink. I want it to be over it all the way, just to make it look neat. Well, I think that should do it for now. All right, let's install it. I'm using the kink in the cable as my reference point. All right. Balance it out again. But it's a bit too tight. So let's. I'm always amazed at what a difference just 1 or 2 millimeters already make. All right, not too shabby. When I'm balancing out, I'm always making sure that they spring back at the same time, ideally, and with the same force. So I'm not too worried about them getting to the rim in the same time, but I want them to both fully spring back correctly. All right, let me see if I can show you this in more detail. So here we have the little part of liner sticking out. The rubber tube is slided over that. Slid, I don't know, placed. And here is the heat shrink, and I managed to damage it a little bit, but it's okay. And I slid this end over it. So now, when I brake, this happens. But there's no way for dirt or water to enter the system anywhere. So, and I gotta say, in a funky way, yeah, it looks like something that's meant to be there. And I'm very curious how this will work in the long term. All right, now I cut the heat shrink in half, and I'm going to use the other half on the end of the cable, because why not? Let's just check if the length is all right. Yes, it is. All right. Yes. Neat. All right. Well, I think this will be more than enough footage to work with. So let's get the rest done without that much talking. Bye.